Hello students, again I am here to explain you the remaining portion of the chapter 2, that is sectors of the Indian economy. Now what is the topic? I am starting from page number 32 because we have done in the last class up to page number 31. So I am starting from page number 32. What is the heading over here in the bold letters? How to protect workers in the अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर. दैट मीन्स अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में वर्कर्स को हाउ टू प्रोटेक्ट, कैसे प्रोटेक्शन देना है. सो इन माई प्रीवियस क्लास ओनली आई टोल्ड यू देर आर टू sectors. One is organized sector and another one is unorganized sector. Organized sector is characterized by safety and security of employment. The workers in organized sector, they enjoy different facilities like job security, like regular payments, provident funds, pensions, sick leave, medical benefits, and every Sunday there is off, that means paid holiday. So these are the different benefits or facilities which the workers in organized sector they enjoy. And apart from that, the workers in organized sector, they are having or they have appointment letters when they join their work. But in comparison to the organized sector, unorganized sectors are characterized by uncertainty in jobs. That means, first of all, in unorganized sector, no medical leaves, no pension, no provident funds are there, job security is also not there. And in organized sector, there is specific time up to which the workers need to do work, but in unorganized sector, no specific times for jobs are there. They work as per the wish of their employers. That means whatever the employers are saying to them, they have to follow those instructions, and they are not paid for the overtime also. If they are working extra hours, then also they are not paid, and they are suffering from job insecurity. Whenever their employers want, they can straight away throw them out from their jobs. So these are the different lacunas or the different problems in the unorganized sector. Now in this topic we are going to discuss how to protect the workers in the unorganized sector. It is seen that some of the industries in the organized sector, they also intentionally they also do not register them as or then do not register themselves as organized sector, because if they register themselves as organized sector, then they have to provide different benefits which are prescribed by the government, or which are mandatory for them to follow, like they have to give regular salaries, they have to give so many benefits to their workers. So intentionally they are not recognizing them, or intentionally they are not registering themselves as the organized sector. Intentionally they remain in the unorganized sector so that they don't have to follow the rules and regulations of the government. And that is why the number of jobs or number of employment opportunities in the organized sector are not expanding fastly, they are expanding very slowly. And that is why the job availabilities in the organized sector are very less, and that's why most of the workers in our country are forced to work in the unorganized sector, where they are getting very low salary, they are exploited, they are not getting proper wages, fair wages, and their jobs are also not secure, and they don't have any other benefits. So here the government need to intervene. The government has to look after the protection of the workers in the working in the unorganized sector. And specifically after 1990s, when new economic policy was taken, or when economic reforms were taken, it was seen that uh, the workers in the the workers in the organized sector, they lost their jobs, and they were forced to engage themselves in the unorganized sector because of closing up of their factories, because of closing up of their units in the organized sector, and they had to accept the jobs which are very less paid, but they didn't have any other alternative opportunities, so they had to uh, engage themselves in unorganized sector. Now, first of all, we need to think, see the line over here. Who are these vulnerable people who need protection? See the line over here. Who are these vulnerable people who need protection? First of all, what is the meaning of the word vulnerable? Vulnerable means asahai. In Hindi, it means that they are not having any other options. They are very much, you can say, at the mercy of the others. That is why they are called vulnerable. So in the rural area, see the line over here, the organized sector see the line over here. In the rural areas, the unorganized sector mostly comprise of landless agricultural laborers. The unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless agricultural laborers, small and marginal farmers, sharecroppers and artisans. That means when you are talking about the workers in the unorganized sector in rural areas, who are they? कौन है वो? They are landless agricultural laborers. That means the laborers who don't have land of their own, sharecroppers, artisans like weavers, blacksmiths, carpenters and goldsmiths. They are constituting 80%, or they are comprising 80% of the rural households, and they are mainly in the small and marginal farmer category. They don't have any other alternative options, so they are at the mercy of the large landowners, so they have to work as per their instructions. They don't have to have any other opportunities where they can find work. So that's why they are at the mercy of the large landowners. They had to accept the jobs of landless agricultural laborers, where they are getting very less payment. Sometimes they are not getting any monetary payment also. Sometimes they are paid in kind. That means sometimes they are paid in terms of food grains or crops, a very little bit amount of food grains or crops, but they don't have any other option. They have to accept that. So see the line over here. These farmers need to be supported through adequate facility for timely delivery of seeds, agricultural inputs, credit, storage facilities and marketing outlets. That means along with landless agricultural laborers, the small and marginal farmers are also suffering from working in the unorganized sector, because they are lacking the facilities, every facility. So government need to provide protection to these workers. Which workers I'm talking about? I'm talking about the landless agricultural workers, artisans, sharecroppers, small or marginal farmers. And government need to do or need to help them by providing them high yielding variety seeds, different agricultural inputs, storage facilities, marketing outlets, as well as government need to provide them loan, credit. What is the meaning of the word credit? Loan at a very cheap interest rate. so that these marginal and small farmers along with the agricultural laborers, they don't be a prey to the large landowners, so that they are free from the clutches of the money lenders, so that they can get credit at a very cheap interest rate from the government, and they can continue with their farming. This is about rural areas. And when you are talking about urban areas, in the urban areas, who are the workers working in the unorganized sector? कौन काम करते हैं अर्बन एरिया में, अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में? See, over here the examples are given: street vendors, head load workers, garment makers, rag pickers. These are the workers who are working in the unorganized sector. You may have seen the workers carrying loads of bricks and cement in their head, and they are working in the construction sites. We have seen them in cities, in different towns. We have seen them, workers working in the construction sites. They are also involved in the unorganized sector works, and whenever they are present for their work, they are getting money, and that money is also very much limited. So government need to protect all these unorganized and unorganized workers, so that a minimum payment or minimum money they get for everyday's wage. And see the last paragraph of this page. We have seen that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and backward communities, they are only maximum number of unorganized sector workers. They belong to SC, ST and the other Dalit communities or backward communities. So government needs to take proper measures so that their economic and social conditions improve. Now let us come to the next page, that is page number, this one is page number 33. We are coming to the last topic of the chapter, sectors in terms of ownership, public and private sectors. Until now we have discussed organized and unorganized sector. Now we are going to discuss sectors in terms of public and private sectors. When we are talking about organized and unorganized sector, we are differentiating the sectors of the economy in terms of the employment conditions. And when you are talking about public and private sectors, we are differentiating the sectors in terms of the ownership. जब हम ऑर्गेनाइज और अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर की बात कर रहे थे, their employment conditions we were discussing, whether they are getting regular salaries, whether their jobs are secure, whether they are getting medical benefits, proper sanitation facilities, whether they are having weekly off, whether they are having sick leave. These types of employment conditions we were discussing while differentiating between the organized and unorganized sector, while talking about the organized and unorganized sector. Now when we are talking about the public and private sectors, we are talking about who are the owners of different sectors. On the basis of the ownership, two types of sectors are there. One is public sector and one is private sector. Public sector is that sector which is owned by the government. That means the owner of the assets, most of the assets, and the delivery of services. That means ownership of most of the assets and delivery of services. The responsibility lies on the government. Then that type of sector is known as public sector. That means public sector is that sector. See over the line, over here the line, the public sector is that sector where the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services. In the public sector, the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services. In the private sector, ownership of assets and delivery of services is in the hands of private is in the hands of private individuals or companies. That means when we are talking about different sectors on the basis of the ownership, then two sectors are there. One is public sector, another one is private sector. Public sector is that sector which is owned by the government, and private sector is that sector which is owned by private individuals or companies. That means when you are talking about public sector, the delivery of services and the ownership of assets lie in the hands of the government. And when you are talking about the private sector, the ownership of assets and the delivery of services and goods lie in the hands of the private individuals or enterprises or companies. Now the example of public sector is what? Railways, post office. These are the example of public sector. Another example of public sector is defense, then atomic energy. These are also in the hands of the public sector. And the example of private sector, Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, TISCO or Reliance Industries Limited, RIL, they are privately owned. So many private sectors are there. So in your book only these two examples are there. So many, like suppose the phone which you are using, suppose the brand is Samsung or the brand is something else. All these are in the hands of the private sector. Now why the necessary of public sector is there, or why the necessary of private sector is there? Obviously both the sectors are required in our country or required in an economy, because public sector, why it is needed? Public sector is the sector which is owned by the government, and some works are there, some facilities are there which only government can provide. Private sector cannot provide, and you can say private sector does not want to provide. Actually public sector operates on the basis of the social welfare. Obviously public sector also wants to earn profit, but they are not sacrificing the social benefits for it. So when you are talking about public sector or when you are talking about government owned sectors, they are working on the principles of social welfare. But when we are talking about private sector, they are working on the principle of profit making only. See here in the bold line it is written, there are several things needed by the society as a whole which private sector will not provide at a reasonable cost. The reason is what? Some sectors are there where private sector cannot provide the services. Private sectors cannot provide the services. Why? Because they require a huge amount of money, like construction of roads, construction of railway tracks, bridges, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation through dams. All these works, private sector, if they want to do, they require huge amount of money which they don't have. So these are the primary responsibilities of the government to look after. So these works are undertaken by the public sector only. And there are some activities, suppose generation of electricity or supplying electricity at a subsidized rate to the small scale industries. Can the private sector do so? No. If they supply electricity at a very cheaper rate to the small scale industries, then they will incur loss which they cannot afford. But government has to look after small scale industries, large scale industries. Government has to look after the whole country. So they sometimes have to ignore whether they are getting the profit or loss. They have to look after the social benefit, and that's why major services are there. Some services are there which are solely the responsibility of the government. Like the government in India, see here in the last paragraph of page number, this one I think page number 34, in PDF it is page number, according to the PDF it is page number 17, according to the book it is page number 34. The government in India buys, see here the line, the government in India buys wheat and rice from farmers at a fair price. I think you remember in class 9th I have explained you कि there is a conception, there is a price known MSP, minimum support price. What is minimum support price? It is the price at which the government purchases wheat and rice from the surplus wheat and rice from the farmers, so that the farmers they don't get loss. And what the government does with it after buying or after purchasing the wheat and rice from the farmers at a fair price, what the government does, government makes the stock of it, the stock of wheat and rice, which is known as buffer stock. And whenever necessities are there, some natural calamities are there or some necessities are there, then the government supplies food grains from its buffer stocks to the needy person, to the food deficit areas, so that the needy persons can get the benefit out of it. And at the same time, you have heard about ration shops. In ration shops, every week you can get this wheat, rice, sugars, kerosene oil at a very cheaper rate. Government supplies them in ration shops around your localities, around your areas. Where from government is getting? Government is supplying this from its buffer stock, which you have already learnt in class 9th. So these works private sector cannot do. These works only government can do. So these are the different activities or services which the government provides, and that is why these are included in the public sector. Apart from that, government also has to look after the health and education facilities of the country. Government took an initiative called Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan or Literacy for All campaign, where it is mandatory or government makes it compulsory to provide or to get education up to class 8, that from the age of 6 to 14 it is compulsory for all the children of the country to get education. Compulsory and free education is there from 6 to 14 years. Now who is bearing the cost of this education? Government is bearing the cost of this education. Apart from that, government is providing the midday meal scheme also, where the students who are studying in government schools, they are getting the benefit of midday meal scheme. So construction of primary schools, appointing the teachers, these are all the sole responsibilities of the government, which the private sector cannot do. Obviously, private sectors are also there in the education business, in the education field. I should not say it business, in the education field, where private schools are also there. But when we are talking about private schools, their assets and deliveries of services are managed by the private individuals. But when you are talking about government schools, they are coming under the category of public sector, because they are run and managed by the government only. And come to the last paragraph of this chapter. See here, similarly we know that the line is here. Similarly we know that nearly half of nearly half of India's children are malnourished and a quarter of them are critically ill. What does it mean? Malnourished. India's 50% children are malnourished. That means they are not getting proper diet, and that's why 25%, quarter of them are critically ill. And see here, the infant mortality rate of Orissa or Madhya Pradesh is higher. Infant mortality rate of Orissa is 53 and Madhya Pradesh is 56, is higher than some of the poorest regions of the world. So obviously government needs to take care of these situations, needs to provide proper medical facilities or medical infrastructure to these areas where infant mortality rates are very higher. And that is why India is seen as a developing country still in the world. It is not one of the developed countries, it is a developing country. That because until now we are not obviously, as compared to the independence era, as compared to the time of independence, we have come a long way, but still we need to go further. Government needs to take care of the poorest and the most ignored regions, and of the most poorest regions or most remote regions of the country, so that these areas are also properly developed, so that infant mortality rate can come down. Government needs to provide different schemes, different health schemes, different uh, literacy campaigns. It needs to start so that the health and literacy indicators of our country can improve. And that is why these sectors are coming under public sector, because public sector only can look after the social welfare. So until now we have discussed private sector and public sector. Private sector is that sector which is guided by the private sector is that sector which is guided by the profit motive, and public sector is that sector which is guided by the social welfare, samajik vikas. So we have come to the end of the chapter. We have completed the chapter. Whatever question answers are there, I am going to provide you the question answers, but your homework is to do the fill in the blanks, then the true and false, the matchmaking yourself. Whenever the school reopens, I am going to check that. I think whatever I have explained to you, it's clear to you. Thank you.